morning. How's everybody? Oh, hang on. Let me turn this fan off. There we go. That's better. So we're in the greenhouse, and it's the 28th, the 29th of April. I'm going to be planting my garden outside May 2-4 weekend. But like you see, we're in the greenhouse, and the trellis netting for the tomatoes, there's the tomatoes. The trellis netting for the tomatoes, I'm using 8-foot T-posts, okay? Now, I'm going to need these T-posts to set up infrastructure in the garden. So today what we're going to do is, because all the tomatoes that I currently have growing have give or take 3 weeks left until I cut them down, and I want to harvest all the tomatoes that are currently growing, right? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cut off all the growth tips off of all the suckers and the tops of these tomato plants. What that's going to do is that's going to tell the tomato plant we can't get any bigger, right? Because we've cut all the growth tips off. That's going to switch out the hormones in the plants from doing basically three things, right? Growing more vegetation, growing a longer growth tip, and ripening the tomatoes. So by cutting all the growth tips off, we're removing essentially two of those growth systems in the plant. One of my plants back there, I'll flip this camera around in a second, has hit the ceiling. And my ceilings are, I don't know, 9 feet tall, give or take. So Dove, you wanted to see what the tomato plants look like, so I'll make sure you get a good visual of this. So I've got lots of tomatoes ripening on the plants, you'll see. So like I said, we're going to cut all the growth tips off and cut out some of the suckers that are growing because I just don't need those anymore. And we're just going to force the plant to just strictly decide that it's going to just set fruit, because there's already like little itty bitty tomatoes growing, and I want everything to fully ripen so that way when I have to take this down there won't be nothing left. So you guys kind of have an idea of the scale of these tomato plants, okay? So this one is about 6.5 feet tall. It's right below my light. And then duck under the LEDs. And this is the tall one. Look at that. It's rubbing on my ceiling up top there. So like I said, this is what we're going to do. So you see how I have green fruit everywhere, right? We have fruit ripening all over the place. Okay. And then we have little tiny ones. Let's see if we can find some, like right here. Okay, so those are just getting started. So I want everything that's, like this and like this to finish ripening up. So it's a big wall of green. It's a little hard to film in here because on one side of the greenhouse I've got all that, and then this light is literally right at my forehead level, and I have dents on my forehead now and lumps on my forehead because I keep smacking my head right into that corner as I walk by. So next year when I attach the light, see where it hooks there? I'm going to bring it up right up into that corner so I can raise it up another 6 inches or so. Those are 2x8s, so I'll be able to raise it up at least another 6 inches, and that'll clear most of my forehead. So what do you say? You want to start on the first plant? All right. I don't even know how I'm going to get this into screen here. Maybe I can tip it up. All right. Is that getting the top? All right, that's getting most of it. Okay. Let's get to cutting. So we're going to take off all the suckers that are not growing any growth. We're going to start right at the bottom of the plant. And then we're just going to work our way up. And anything that's at the bottom that's kind of sickly and not too healthy, we're going to cut that out. And we're going to find all of the suckers and cut the tips off them. Just like that. See? Cut all these growth tips off. All of these suckers. Because they're indeterminates, right? So with an indeterminate, all of the growth happens at that growth tip. So, and we don't want any more suckers. So we're just going to come right through here and we're just going to cut the heck out of everything. And there's suckers all over this place. Because normally I would never allow all of these suckers to grow. Like in the garden outside, you would never see suckers on my tomato plants. But because this is inside and I've espaliered them against the wall, I did that so that I could have the most possible fruit out of the plants. So we're literally just coming along, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's the top of the sucker, right? There's the last fruit set. We have flowers on top of that. And then right there, this fella right here, that's the growth tip. So let me get my pruners. Where are we at? So literally, if we just come in here, where's the camera? So we're just going to come in here, literally snip that out. Okay? So you see where we cut it? Now this branch will not grow any longer because all the growth happens right there. So now what that's going to do is that's going to force the plant to do different things. So essentially we're just moving hormones around the plant, right? It's hard to get a good angle in here. All right, let's see what we can do. So we're just coming through, picking out any of the suckers. So essentially we're single stemming the plant that was never single stemmed in the first place. We're going to open it up. Any of the suckers that have no fruit starting at all, we're going to remove. This way the plant is not putting energy where we don't want it. So we did that. Oh, you know what? There's nothing growing on that. See? There we go. See a sucker? I thought there was fruit on it, but it was attached to another branch. So we don't even need that. It's going to be a big cleanup job. And the way you can always tell a sucker on an indeterminate, because here's a perfect example. Okay, so here's the main stem, okay? Here's the sunleaf branch right there. And you always get a sucker right in the armpit of that. So this is a sucker. So this will produce fruit if you let it. And they always grow right there in the middle, see? So just take that off and throw it away. And I'm just going to go through this whole process here. I'll do a little bit on one plant. You'll see how much it's cleaned up and I'll come back. We got them all pruned out. I don't know if you guys can tell if it looks a little less jungly in there, but we chopped this whole bin out. That whole bin. So, you see what I'm talking about here? See how I cut the growth tip off right there? We did that to the whole plant. See? Right there. We've come through. Up in there. We even did all the tops. There. Up there. Right? So you guys get the point? And we've also cut out any sucker that was not producing fruit or had flowers on it. Because, like for example, right? We took that whole thing out. What's that? 26 inches long or something? That's just sucking nutrients out of the soil, and we don't need that. So that's about it. So now all these beautiful tomatoes, in case you're wondering if I'm harvesting tomatoes, you tell me. And if you're wondering also if they taste like those gross greenhouse tomatoes you get in the winter time at the grocery store that just taste like paste, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, don't mind if I do. Guess who's having a salad for lunch today? This guy. So, that's my tomato video, guys. So if you guys are growing in your greenhouse, you can do this. Also, I do this on all my tomato plants in the fall, right? Because in the fall, your plants are just loaded. And if you're worried about frost like I am, because one night of frost will wipe your tomato plants out. So in the fall, I'll go through all my tomato plants. You know, this year I'm probably going to have 60 or 70 tomato plants or something ridiculous. I'll go through and I'll chop all the tops off. But I only single stem them in the garden. So I only have to worry about just cutting the top off of every plant as I just go down the line. So you guys can do this. See? Imagine that, just being able to come down into a makeshift greenhouse like this. This is what? Painter's plastic, some pots, some seeds, and some good full spectrum LEDs. That's all it takes to do this. And you guys can see how healthy everything is in here. Also, side note, super excited. Look at that, my first pepper. Bam, son! And I've got flowers all over the plants. So I've got some edema going on the plants. That's why you see the wrinkles. That's edema. I've been having some watering issues because the pepper plants got pushed way to the back when I put all this wood in here, and I was having trouble keeping them watered. So all right, guys, so that's it for single stemming and topping my tomatoes. Get to growing, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. P.S. Share this out. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Bing, 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 bing. You know what I'm talking about. See ya.